Okay, let's unpack this stack of sources you shared.
Yeah.
You've got some really fascinating material here on the life of Corrie ten Boom. You've given us bits from a book review, Keeper of the Angel's Den, some student handouts from a DVD series called The Torchlighters.
That's right, the Corrie ten Boom story.
Right, and an article from the Gospel Coalition Canada about forgiveness. Quite a mix.
It is, and together they paint this incredible picture, don't they? From her family's life in Haarlem, Holland, through the absolute horror of World War II, and then, the profound lessons she learned. Faith, suffering, forgiveness.
So our mission here, digging into your materials, is to pull out the key insights, the important stuff. Who was she? What did she really face? And what can we take away from it all?
It's definitely a story with a lot of hardship, but also just immense courage and surprising moments of grace, actually, lessons that feel very relevant even now.
Totally. I mean, you look around today, the sources even mention how war and its effects are all you hear about. Her story gives us this unique perspective, doesn't it, on courage when things seem impossible and the power of belief when you're facing real evil. Okay, let's jump in. What really stands out to you first from this material?
Well, it starts quite simply, doesn't it? In Haarlem, Holland, Corrie, daughter of Casper ten Boom, a clockmaker. The Torchlighters handouts, they have these images of her at the workbench, clocks, tools. You get a feel for that life. Orderly, precise.
A peaceful world kind of built around timepieces. But then, like you said, the world just changes dramatically. The sources make it clear. The Nazis invade Holland. Persecution of Jewish people begins.
And this is where the ten Boom family faces this huge moral choice. The review says they just weren't willing to stand by and watch what Hitler was doing. They decided to help the Jewish people, knowing full well it could cost them their lives.
They had to act. And the sources call their home the Angel's Den. The review suggests that means it became a hiding place, right?
Exactly. A refuge. The Torchlighters images really bring this home. You see soldiers searching, people hidden away in closets.
Just imagine living like that, the constant tension.
Absolutely. They were actively hiding Jews. One handout mentions codes were needed, which shows you the level of planning involved. Real secrecy.
And that word smuggle in the review.
Yeah, that really highlights the risk, doesn't it? This wasn't just being nice. It was dangerous, principled action. Costly.
And of course, taking that kind of risk, it had consequences. The sources confirm the family was arrested for helping Jews. There's that image in the handout, soldiers confronting someone. That moment, the danger became real.
Yeah. And after the arrest, Corrie's path just becomes incredibly hard. The review uses these really stark words. Alone, handcuffs, darkness, train, death. It gives you a chill.
And she and her sister, Bessie, they end up in a concentration camp. Ravensbrück, specifically. Both the Torchlighters materials and the Gospel Coalition article mention it by name.
Life there. I mean, the sources describe it as brutal. Forced labor, inspections, just constant suffering, physical, emotional.
But even in that awful place, something remarkable happens.
Yeah.
Particularly involving her sister, Betsy. Your sources really highlight her.
Betsy seems to have had this incredible faith and perspective. The sources say both she and Corrie tried to show Jesus' love, even there. There's that Torchlighters image, remember? Corrie and Betsy leading a Bible study for other prisoners in those conditions. It's astonishing.
And then there's that story, the famous one, about the fleas. It's even laid out like a little play script in one of the handouts.
Yes, it's such a telling scene. In that script, Betsy just keeps finding things to be thankful for, even on the horrible train journey to the camp. Thankful their father didn't suffer long in prison. Thankful for another prisoner's kindness. She's actively looking for slivers of good.
Which Corrie, understandably, finds really hard. Thankful. For what? Especially with the fleas infesting their barracks. Constant misery. The script shows her struggling with Betsy, saying they should give thanks in all circumstances. That's the Bible reference, right?
1 Thessalonians.
That's the one, 1 Thessalonians 5.16-18. And Corrie's reaction is so human. How can you be thankful when things are this bad?
But then comes the twist.
Exactly. Betsy figures it out. The guards almost never came into their barracks. Why not?
Because of fleas.
Because of the fleas. They wouldn't go in there.
Wow. So the thing causing them misery, the fleas, was actually the reason they had the freedom to hold their Bible studies.
Yeah. The sources say God used this bad thing to accomplish good. It must have been this incredible aha moment for them. seeing purpose where there just seemed to be suffering.
That must have been a huge shift in perspective.
And that experience, it seems to feed directly into one of Corrie's main teachings, which comes up again and again in these sources, the importance of thankfulness, even, maybe especially, in the hard times. Learn through fire, you know. And the review quotes that amazing line of hers, "There is no pit so deep where God's love is not deeper." That just sums up her strength, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Believing that even at rock bottom, she wasn't alone.
Absolutely. And her story also pushes hard on compassion, even for enemies, and that incredibly difficult thing, forgiveness. The review mentions it. The Gospel Coalition article focuses on it. It wasn't just theory for her.
The Torchlighters handouts kind of broaden the lens, too, connecting her life to other big ideas, like persecution, obviously, but also the importance of Scripture.
Which they describe as God-breathed, inspired.
Right. And helping the vulnerable, they link it to the least of these from Matthew's Gospel, caring for those overlooked.
And finding refuge in God. They quote Psalm 94.22, God as a stronghold. It shows how her specific experience connected to these wider principles of faith.
They also bring up a tough question, don't they? Why did some Christians help during the war while others didn't?
Yes. The consequence of choosing convenience, maybe, over doing what's right. Corrie's story becomes this powerful example of courage when faced with that exact choice.
And the sources mention her later work, too, with people with handicaps. Her compassion continued long after the war.
And that can go to kids of courage, telling stories like Yona's from Indonesia. It shows her example still resonates. Standing firm under pressure isn't just history.
So after the war, after release, she dedicated her life to sharing this story.
Yes, she traveled widely, felt compelled to talk about what she learned about God's faithfulness, God's love, right in the middle of hell on earth.
And the most powerful story from that time, it's got to be the one in the Gospel Coalition article. Her encounter with that former Nazi guard.
Oh, it's incredible. She's speaking in a church in Munich, looks out, sees a man, and recognizes him instantly. He was a guard at Ravensbrück, at the shower rooms during processing. Imagine the memories flooding back. The trauma, the humiliation.
And he recognizes her, comes up afterwards, thanks her for the message about sin being washed away, and then holds out his hand. Wants to shake hers.
Talk about a moment. Corrie describes this internal war. Anger, vengeful thoughts just boiling through her, remembering the camp, Betsy's death. She says she physically couldn't lift her hand. It felt frozen.
And this is where her faith becomes so practical, isn't it? Not just ideas, but action. She prays right then and there, first asking God to help her forgive, but then she admits, Jesus, I cannot forgive him. Give me your forgiveness.
Yeah.
She knew she didn't have it in herself.
Just raw honesty in that prayer. And the article says when she finally somehow raised her hand and took his, she felt this jolt, like a current passing between them. And suddenly she's filled with this overwhelming love for him, for this stranger who represented so much pain. It wasn't her love, it felt like a gift.
And that led her to understand forgiveness differently, didn't it? The source quotes her saying the world's healing doesn't depend on our forgiveness any more than on our goodness.
But on his, on God's. He commands love for enemies, yes, but then, as she put it, he gives, along with the command, the love itself.
Wow. That's profound. The difference between trying to muscle up forgiveness yourself versus receiving the power to do it.
Exactly. That encounter shows it so clearly.
So looking at Corrie's story through these sources, it's really not just history, is it? It feels like a kind of guide for facing our own impossible situations. I mean, you listening might not be hiding people or in a concentration camp, thankfully, but you do face tough choices, right?
Yeah.
Personal pain, people who've hurt you.
Absolutely. Her life makes us ask, where does our strength come from when things get really hard? How do we respond to injustice, big or small? Do we choose the easy way or the right way? Are our beliefs just ideas, or are they strong enough to hold up under pressure?
And that forgiveness piece, that's a massive challenge. If Corrie could find a way through God's help to forgive that guard after everything, what does that say about the possibility for healing from the hurts in your life?
These sources definitely give you a lot to chew on. Reflecting on the verses that guided her, maybe thinking about the bad things in your own life, could they have another dimension? Like the fleas, an unexpected purpose you haven't seen yet.
So this deep dive into the materials on Corrie ten Boom, it shows a woman whose faith was tested like few others in the furnace of war, and she came out with these incredibly powerful lessons: resilience, thankfulness, forgiveness.
She really showed that even in the deepest darkness, there can be a deeper love. And the strength to do the right thing, even to forgive what seems unforgivable, it comes from somewhere beyond just us.
Yeah. Her story, told through these sources, it definitely forces us to look at ourselves, our own capacity for courage, for compassion, especially when it's hard.
And maybe it leaves us with this thought to consider, inspired by her journey. In your own life right now, what feels like the fleas, that persistent, irritating, difficult thing? Could you maybe try, just for a moment, to look at it differently? Could there be an unexpected angle, maybe even something somehow to be thankful for within it?